Why hello there, I'm Anxious Cynic and welcome back to another Minecraft animation competition review. Let's jump into it. So this first submission here by Boom Nights is actually pretty good. The main issue just right out of the gate is the resolution's too low. It's like 360p, 480p, something like that. According to the rules, submissions need to be 720p or more. So always try to render in that high resolution and or upload in that high resolution. No, not or, and upload in that high resolution. But the theme being cartoon-fied, I thought this one was actually pretty much right on the money. I like the sound effects, the way it was animated, nice skewing there. Little bit kind of the way that happens so quickly kind of threw me off. I think it'd be better if this was a little bit more animated rather than, I don't know, the way it happens is it's very quick and doesn't really give you that cartoon vibe of like smearing or whatever. In any case, the way the music was done, sound effects, visuals, I love the bit here with the fish. So yeah, this was pretty well done technically and thematically, so good job on that one. And for our second submission by pretty well done. I like the, you know, the kind of side aspect style, 2D, whatever you want to call it. It's obviously not actually 2D, but pretty cool. It is obviously a recreation of Stick Fight, which is kind of off theme here. This is, you know, like, I don't know if I would consider Stick Fight a cartoony kind of thing. So yeah, this is like a, you know, more of like, you know, obviously recreating a game in Minimator, which is a cool concept, but I'm not sure it's quite on theme in terms of like the style of the combat, the action on screen. It does have kind of a cartoony nature to it. I just think, you know, maybe instead of going with Stick Fight, you just add normal Minecraft textures, because you do have the random Minecraft Steve that comes in at the end. So yeah, just doing straight up Minecraft in this probably would have worked better and been less distracting. But either way, still nice little fun submission here, good animation quality, and nice ideas in the way that the actions events took place. Really, the detrimental thing to me in terms of it being like Stick Fight is the Steve at the end. After everybody else has been the red and blue colors, is kind of odd. Either way, good work. All right, so submission number 3. First of all, right out of the gate, this camera shot here, you don't want that. Like, there's a weird kind of shake it does right there where it starts to look down then back up and zooms over. Very obviously kind of amateur camera work there. If you're new to it, you don't really know what you're doing, obviously you should experiment, play around, do all kinds of things with the camera and try to, you know, expand your knowledge about how the camera works and whatnot. But in terms of trying to tamp down on something like, say, a submission for this, you want to do maybe a little bit more simple camera work. You know, that's just something you want to look out for. Your cinematography is a big deal. It's the language of film. So you want to make sure that your camera work evokes the emotion that you're trying to portray. And if you're doing something cartoony, especially, you can get away with more minimal camera work. You don't have to have these kind of crazy swooping angles and things like that. Besides that, I think the cartoon action worked pretty well. It is meant to be like a cartoony Sky Wars, and I think that kind of does come through when he shoots over the Enderman and he's wearing the shirt. It's kind of some silly scenarios here. I like the little sweat bead dripping down, and it's an interesting concept here where he hits him with the chest and it kind of sucks him into it. Almost reminds me of like Jumanji or something. It's a good effort as far as, like, you know, being on theme and whatnot. It's just those technical elements need to be sorted out. But either way, good job and good effort. And our fourth and final submission here by KMSK Gaming is kind of more of a comic book style. Obviously there are, like, you know, superhero cartoons and whatnot, so still fitting in the theme there. One of the big things that sticks out right out of the gate is you have a pretty short submission here, so let's say about 40 seconds long, and the first almost 10 seconds are this move with the title and the camera moving. You don't really want that, especially for really short clips like this. Sometimes it can kind of work if it's done just right. But there's just not enough content there. It's not really an establishing shot. It's not really telling us where things are. It just tells us he's on the top there. So I don't know. It's something that's kind of tricky. You got to get that right balance. But it's just a little bit too long. It's like when somebody turns on your video, they're not going to be invested right away. So unless you've got like a really strong theme and whatnot coming through, you want to get something going as soon as possible so that they're invested. In any case, the animation quality on this has some issues in terms of like with the way the characters die there. One thing, and this is really kind of nitpicky, but like the way it falls over is obviously not ideal, but when it kind of goes in there, my controls are messed up, and like he kind of goes into himself up above the ground. Little detail, not that big of a deal, but if you're using Blender, even Minimator, you know, the origin, wherever you're scaling a character or an object down to, you want that to kind of be where the character is anchored. So again, like with the wolves here, they all fall over at the same time. You don't want them all doing an identical movement, and they're all kind of shrinking to like a middle origin. If they're anchored to the ground, then you want them to kind of shrink into the ground. There's nothing like sucking them up in the air, so it's kind of weird looking in that way. Then of course you have like Steve falling back. This is probably the most realistic looking fall, because the way he actually is kind of anchored by his feet, but especially when like it's kind of slow and floaty looking, and then when he stands up, like he's just kind of doing a slidey motion. It's kind of obvious you went from one pose to the next and didn't really animate any physics in between happening of how he's going to stand up. And if you want it to appear like, oh, he's becoming Superman, then he should have just went straight from that seated position to up into this flying position rather than standing and then going up into it, because that way it would look a little bit more like superpower-ish. One of the issues I tend to notice some of these submissions, like I don't know if they're rushed or whatever, but when basically the action of the scene takes place and it's not even over and then the video ends. You know, the idea is cartoon fight. This should be the subject of your animation, this point right here, but instead it's the very end. There's not even a real conclusion to it, and you know, I guess you see him kind of poof away and you hear a little sound effect there, but this kind of should be the climax. It's the meat and potatoes of your animation for this theme, and this is what you want to focus on, not this kind of build up stuff beforehand. All right, so after watching and reviewing the plethora of submissions we got for this theme, I'm gonna have to go ahead and give the win to Boom Nights. Besides the fact that it was a low quality submission in terms of actual video quality, this one had the best lighting, the best animation quality, and in my opinion, the best execution of the theme. So we're gonna give it to Boom Nights. Boom Nights is gonna get to pick the next theme, and we'll see you guys in the next video.